Welcome to the Icons, Leadership in Sports. I'm your host, Rick Horrow. Over the last few months, we've featured some of the biggest names in sports telling us about what moments shaped their lives and why they've given back to their communities. This month, an NFL legend in his hometown, NFL running back and Hall of Famer, Curtis Martin. Martin was born and raised in Pittsburgh. His mother worked 3 jobs to support the family, living in some of the toughest neighborhoods in the city. Martin didn't play football until his senior year in high school and was an immediate star, running for over 1,000 yards. Injuries plagued Martin's collegiate career as Pitt, but he still averaged over 100 yards a game as a junior. In his senior season, Martin rushed for 251 yards in the season opener against Texas, before getting sidelined for the season the following week. He was a third-round pick of the Patriots in 1995 and was the AFC's leading rusher in his rookie campaign. Martin's defining NFL years were as a New York Jet, where he was an All-Pro 3 times. Martin was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2012, and his number is retired by the Jets. His foundation provides financial aid and support to single mothers, children's charities, and people with disability. We talked to Curtis at an event announcing a new athletic facility in the Homewood neighborhood of Pittsburgh, where he was raised. Let's start with some of the highlights from that announcement.
We have an opportunity as a community to help young Pittsburghers when it's after school, when it's during the weekends, when it's during the summer, in order to be able to succeed while they are in school by providing them opportunities towards success. And that's exactly what this is. Some may view this as a field. We view it as the opportunity for the individuals who will be using this facility and for the neighborhood as a rebirth of a critical part in the rebuilding of Homewood.
This has been a long process to get us to this point. The field is just the event, right? The field is just the event. This right here uplifts a community. This motivates kids. We use sports as motivation to help with, their education, being a good kid at home with your mother and father, just development overall. Like, sports is the leverage that we have. So bringing something good to the community is only going to help every area, whether it's academics or just behavior or anything else. Kurt might not know this, but when I was he don't remember this, I'm telling you. When I was about 13 years old, I was at Monroeville Mall, and it was raining, it was cold, buses wasn't coming, and he see me and a group of my friends standing out here, and this is just the type of person he is. Didn't know us. He pulled up and said, "What you guys doing?" We said, we waiting for the bus. He said, "Where you live at?" We said, "Homewood." He said, "All right, I'm gonna drive y'all." Got in his car, he drove us home. So he's helping us back then, and he's still, to this day, helping us now. So I appreciate that.
Let me just start by saying that I grew up in this neighborhood, and I've seen all of the things that go on in this neighborhood. We all who come from this community, we know how important something like this is. We didn't have this when we were growing up. You have no idea the difference that this facility is going to make in this environment. And I just want to thank everyone involved, because this is going to not only change lives, but it's going to save lives.
Rick Horrow, absolutely honored to be joined by Hall of Fame football player and Hall of Fame philanthropist Curtis Martin at City Hall, announcing the new field in his hometown. Curtis, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
We took a tour of your home area of Homewood, and we are amazed at the changes that this field will help develop, but also describe what it was like growing up in that neighborhood and being Curtis Martin growing up in Homewood.
Well, look, I don't think my experience was any different than anyone else growing up there. I think we've all had to deal with a certain amount of violence that is somewhat known in that area. Just to give a little background, my grandmother, who was like my mother, who lived in that area, we found her murdered with a knife in her chest and eyes wide open and a broken neck and everything.
When you were how old?
9 years old. Since then, I probably had 35 to 40 friends or family members that have not just died, but have been murdered. Last year I was there, and I was visiting this house of a family that I used to stay at a lot when I was younger. And I decided that since I had my 3 and 5-year-old girls with me and my wife, that I would take them by the field to show them where Daddy used to play football when he was younger. We rode up there. I ended up getting out of the car, shaking some hands, signed a couple autographs, had good conversation with a few people, stayed for maybe 10, 15 minutes. When I left, I got a text that said a little girl had just got shot in the head and shot in the foot. And the one thing that struck me was that it's been like this since I was a kid, and which is almost 4 decades ago. And I just wanted to start the process of bringing some type of safety to that environment so that kids could go out there and play a game of football and not have to worry about returning home safe. What really makes my heart sing is impacting people's lives in a positive way. So for me, every yard that I gained, every touchdown I scored, that just opened up another door for me to reach another person. And so for me, all of that stuff, it shows how adamant I was about using football as a vehicle to serve what I believe is a bigger purpose.
Your mom had a lot to do with where you are today, clearly.
Yes.
She encouraged you to play football, even though you may not have been that excited about playing football early on. Tell that story.
Well, I didn't want to play football. The head coach, who was also the gym teacher at the school I went to, Taylor Alderdice, had asked me to play every year. And I told him, no, I don't feel like rolling around in the dirt with other men. You know, that was my comment about football. Yeah. Well, at the same time, my childhood best friend, someone mistaken identity, jumped out of a car with a shotgun and shot him in his chest. And he ran about 50 yards and collapsed and died. My mother came to me and said, listen, I'm just grateful that you're alive. You know, my mother's been killed, my sister's been killed, my brother is in jail. If something happens to you, they might as well kill me also. That was her remarks. And she said, I want you to do anything after school just so that you're not in the neighborhood, hanging out in the neighborhood. Football was just the thing that came most natural, so I reluctantly did it.
Go to Pitt, injured a lot,
Yes.
Still one of 9 running backs drafted, 8 before you, as I think I understand the
9
story.
before me. I
9
was the
before you.
10th.
Oh, sorry,
Yes,
or 10.
yes.
And so you made the decision to leave, obviously before that, college. And Bill Parcells said some interesting things to you as well, so tell that story.
Well, from what I understand, the story goes that I was injured so much during my collegiate career that it was highly unlikely that I would ever even play in the NFL. If I did make it to the NFL, the chances of me surviving there was slim to none. Well, I think a large part of that was because I didn't take football serious. So it wasn't until my junior year, I believe, that I started really lifting weights. I mean, I was a knucklehead in college, I'll be very honest. And so once I got drafted, I remember telling my family members and everyone who was there that I didn't want to play football. And one guy said to me, he said, well, Curtis, maybe football is just a vehicle that's going to help you to do all the good that you want to do in your community and, you know, in the country and around the world possibly. So maybe football is just that vehicle. And it was from that moment on that football took on a different purpose. And it gave me that motivation to work hard, to lift weights, to do everything that I needed to do to be successful on the field.
You also realize that your admonition against rolling around with other guys in the dirt is only relevant if they could catch you.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I realized is that I always had an ability to escape with my feet. You know,
Yeah.
Now in the hood, I was escaping from different things, which made football seem kind of easy for me. And you know, again, if you would take the purpose that football served for me, I think I would have walked away from the game that very moment.
So
because it didn't, the fame, the fortune, and all that, it didn't mean enough for me to put my all into the game. There were times when I wanted to do things before I got into the NFL where, you know, these are desires, just like, wow, I wish I could change this, or I wish I could help in this situation. Well, now, like I said, through using football as a platform, I was able to get on the phone and say, listen, I was just here, this little girl got shot, I have to do something about it, you know, can we work on this together?
We can't offer much during this time of crisis, but we can offer what we have. So from all of us working early mornings on the farm, long days in the plant, or late nights stocking shelves, doing all we can to get you the milk you need. We hope it makes your breakfast a little brighter, your snacks more nutritious, and reminds you when it comes to caring, there is no expiration date. Milk. Love what's real.
you had to excel as a professional, but you also had to give back. Was there a balance?
Yes, I definitely think there's a balance because you can't do everything that someone requests for you to do. But for me, I try to treat every fan, every person that I interact with as though they're the only person that matters for that moment. And a little boy came up to me after one of the practices my rookie year, and he said, "Hey, Curtis Martin, can you sign this?" And I signed it. He said, "By the way, I have an invitation to my birthday party that's next week or so, and I'd love for you to come, and I want to invite you." And he gives me the invitation. And I looked at him and I said, "Well, you know what, buddy? If I can make it, I'll be there." And the week came around, and I was just like, you know what? I'm actually free. And I gave that little guy my word, so let me go. And I went, and it was just a big blast for them.
You've actually, over the last hour or two, actually really even been nice to me, which I find hard to believe, and it may be an incredible lapse of judgment, but that's your call.
Well, I'm just trying to take it easy on you right now.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. But it's early in our relationship, I can guarantee you that. So here's the question. 14,101 rushing yards, 3,329 receiving yards, 5 Pro Bowls, and obviously the Hall of Fame in 2012. But the Bart Starr Man of the Year and the Ed Block Courage Award 2001, those latter awards probably mean as much, if not more to you than the numbers.
Yes. I'll tell you this, what they all mean to me, including the Hall of Fame, including going to the Super Bowl, all of those things, what they all mean to me is that doing what I really enjoy doing, what really makes my heart sing is impacting people's lives in a positive way. So for me, every yard that I gained, every touchdown I scored, that just opened up another door for me to reach another person. And so for me, all of that stuff is, I wouldn't say proof because I already know it, but it shows how adamant I was about using football as a vehicle to serve what I believe is a bigger purpose.
So let's talk about those platforms. Curtis Martin Job Foundation, talk about it.
The Job Foundation, it was formed because I grew up with a single parent mother who struggled to just keep clothes on my back and food on the table. I tell a story about when I was 7 years old, I had 6 and 7 years old, I had to stay in the house by myself till 9 or 10 o'clock at night because we couldn't afford a babysitter. And so what I started doing was I would come home from school and on my way home I would carry groceries or I would knock on someone's door and ask could I shovel their snow or rake their leaves. And by the time I got home, I had $3 or $4 and I would use that to pay my babysitter. And so I wanted to start something that could help single parent mothers. And that was how the Job Foundation started.
Job Foundation, really important, continuing and ongoing. Surgicorp, talk about that.
Surgicorp is another group that was supported by Job Foundation, and what they do is they go to third world countries and they do surgeries for free. I mean, they'll stay there for 2 days and do 60-some surgeries and maybe even more. But some of the photos and some of the lives that are being changed through Surgicorp is just amazing. I actually even, I had partnered with Mayor Bloomberg in 2006 for homelessness in New York City. So we do a variety of things. I've funded my foundation by myself. Every check that I've ever received from the time I was a rookie, I put 12 to 15% into this foundation. Now I do 20 to 25%. My goal is to live off of half of what I make and give the other half to charity.
So the other piece that we're here for today is the announcement of the field in your growing up community. Tell us a little bit about that and how you feel about that.
Well, what's interesting, and I'm very grateful to these guys because, there were times when I wanted to do things before I got into the NFL where, these are desires, just like, wow, I wish I could change this or I wish I could help in this situation. Well, now, like I said, through using football as a platform, I was able to get on the phone and say, I was just here, this little girl got shot, I have to do something about it. Can we work on this together? And we all got together, and here we are right now in the process of getting ready to build a new field there. And look, it's not the answer to everything, but for me, I just wanted to start doing something. I don't like to keep talking about things and not doing anything, so this is just a start. In the future, I believe that there needs to be a partnership. And without a partnership, it concerns me about the direction of the game because I think we all need to work together to utilize this stage that we all have to do a whole lot of good.
This is not about baseball. It's dedication. It's commitment. It's about developing a mindset in our youth. A mindset that transforms into true character. Old habits abandoned. Disadvantaged. Distressed. New fields envisioned as new opportunities. Instructors teaching life. Lesson learned. this is not about baseball. Help us make an impact on the lives of children in need. Go to ripkenfoundation.org/donations and make a difference.
Athletes as role models. Charles Barkley says we're not role models. Obviously, you have a different perspective on that. But a lot of people will create their foundations as necessary and then assign a foundation administrator, give them a piece, and then figure out what worthy causes might work, might look good.
Yeah.
You would do it differently. Talk about that a little bit.
I go in the exact opposite direction. Not to say that anything's wrong with that. And I happen to know Charles Barkley, and I think that was more of a saying when he said that.
Like everything else
because
he says, right.
Because he's actually a good guy, and he is a role model. Well, for me, it's really important to keep my nose to the ground so I can understand what's going on. And I want to be a part of that change. I want to put my money where my mouth is. I want to be interacting. I want to interact with the people. I don't want to just blindly give money to people who I don't know if it's going to the places that it needs to go to. So this way, I know that things are getting done and going in the right places.
You're 45 right now. What are you doing with the final 2/3 of your life?
More of what I've been doing. I'm doing really well. I'm one of the fortunate ones who was able to retire and have a great post-business career. And so, as I said now, my goal in life is I'll spend the rest of my life trying to serve people and help people in any way that I can. And I think being able to use my influence, my resources, my relationships, as well as the finances that I've been able to gain over a number of years. These are all the different components you need to help impact lives. And I'll do that for the rest of my life.
And you're watching football on a regular basis, I'm sure. You have access to all the NFL guys, owners, and others. Give me your top-line perspective. Is the NFL moving in the right direction? If you had a magic wand, what would you change? Would you kind of be happy with where we are, or would you inspire some changes in certain areas?
Well, the one area, I think the NFL has done great as a business. The one area that I would like to see some improvement on is the relationships between the union and the league, the players and the owners, however you phrase it, but that relationship, because in the future, I believe that there needs to be a partnership. And without a partnership, it concerns me about the direction of the game, because I think we all need to work together to utilize this stage that we all have to do a whole lot of good. And I don't want us to diminish all that we can do through the game of football. I think the football has been good to all of us who have played the game, and I think we've been good to the game. But I think there needs to be a collective effort going forward to really make a difference in the world. And football is the stage that can do that. And I really just want to see this continue to grow. And the reason why I think the partnership is important is because I think that's the only way that it will grow and that the efforts will grow.
You've said a few times that football has, in large part, saved your life. What is it about the power of sports that would and will inspire people to do great by doing good?
Yeah, well, again, I think the power of sports is that people love sports, and the NFL is the most watched sport in the world other than worldwide soccer, you know? And so, you know, I've spoken to a lot of the guys. I mean, I've spoken to Roger Goodell, and I know that he really wants to do a lot in communities. I know that they really want to use football as a vehicle also. And I really just want to see this continue to grow. And the reason why I think the partnership is important is because I think that's the only way that it will grow and that the efforts will grow. I think that football can be more than just a huge stage. I think football can be an element of change, not just in communities, but in the lives of the players. I know for me, football was almost like a second parent. It taught me a lot of things that my parents couldn't teach me or didn't even know to teach me. It taught me how to be disciplined. It taught me how to work hard. It taught me how to stay focused. It taught me how to care about my teammates and care about others. There are a lot of life lessons that are very valuable to every man that steps out on that field. And I believe that the NFL, like I say, it goes beyond the stage that it is, and it's the impact that it can have on the individuals, and hopefully that impact can be expressed in the community and in the country.
What an incredible interview with a man determined to chart a new path for people in Pittsburgh. Next month on the Icons, it's college hoop season, so who better to sit down with than Hall of Famer Dick Vitale.
If you have a passion and sense of pride about what you do, good things can happen. And I learned two things they used to say often. Never ever believe in can't, number one. And number two, I would hear it maybe 15 times a day at my dinner table. Richie, it was never Dick, Richie, be good to people and people are gonna be good to you. People have been great to me. I'm in 14 Hall of Fames. I can't run, I can't jump, I can't shoot. Look at his body, it's my rigatoni. It's unbelievable. And all my life though, I've tried to have passion with whatever I've done.
Thanks for joining us this month. I'm your host, Rick Horrow. See you next time on the Icons, Leadership in Sports.